Captain Elijah Ward looked out the small window of the shuttle as it approached the massive alien station. The structure glowed with blue and green lights against the darkness of space. His heart beat faster. 6 months ago, strange ships had appeared in Earth's skies. The world had united to fight them off. Now Ward understood those attacks were just tests. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. Ward straightened his uniform and checked his translator device. He was the first human to officially meet the Galactic Council. No pressure. "Remember, Captain, you represent all of humanity today," said General Harris, through the comlink from Earth. "Find out what they want." Ward nodded. "Yes, sir." The door opened with a hiss. 2 tall, thin aliens with blue skin waited for him. They had large eyes that seemed too big for their narrow faces. "Captain Ward," one said through its own translator. "I am Liaison Trill. Please follow us to the council chamber." Ward walked behind them, noticing how they moved with smooth, flowing steps. The hallways were much taller and wider than needed for human size. He saw members of at least a dozen different alien species along the way. Some looked almost human, others were completely different. Floating orbs of light, creatures with multiple limbs, beings that seemed made of crystal or gas. The council chamber was a massive room with a round table in the center. 27 seats surrounded it, most filled with different alien beings. Ward was guided to a small platform facing them all. "Captain Elijah Ward of Earth," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere. "Welcome to the Galactic Council Station. We thank you for coming." A being made of light stepped forward. She had a humanoid shape but was transparent and glowing. "I am High Counselor Zelia," she said. "We have much to discuss about your world and its future." Ward stood straight and kept his face calm, though his mind raced. "I am here to listen, Counselor." Zelia nodded. "First, we must apologize. The ships that attacked your world were not invaders in the traditional sense. They were assessment vessels." Ward felt his jaw tighten. "Assessment vessels? They killed thousands of people." "A regrettable necessity," said another counselor, a being with 4 arms and green skin. "We needed to understand your response to threat. You could have just talked to us," Ward said, trying to keep his anger in check. Zelia moved closer. "Would you have shown your true nature in a peaceful meeting? We needed to see humanity under stress, facing danger. And what we saw was remarkable." Images appeared in the air around them. Earth's military forces fighting the alien ships. Civilians helping each other amid destruction. Scientists quickly figuring out weaknesses in alien technology. Pilots making impossible maneuvers to bring down enemy craft. "Your species has a unique response to threat," Zelia continued. "Where most sentient beings flee or surrender, humans become more focused, more determined. You adapt with incredible speed." "That's called survival," Ward said. "Why are you telling me this now?" The images changed to show different scenes. Planets burning, strange ship formations, and creatures that looked like black smoke with red eyes. "This is the Void Harbinger Collective," Zelia explained. "They have consumed half the galaxy already. They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They simply take and destroy." Ward watched the footage with growing concern. "And you think Earth is next?" "Eventually, yes, but that is not why we are speaking today." Zelia looked around at the other counselors, who nodded. "The Galactic Council represents 27 species, all advanced, peaceful civilizations. Our technology is far beyond Earth's. But there is one area where we are lacking. War," said the 4-armed counselor. "We evolved past our violent tendencies thousands of years ago. It served us well until the Harbingers came." Ward began to understand. "You need soldiers." "We need more than soldiers," Zelia said. "We need warriors who understand combat at a primal level. Beings who can face horror and not break. Who can adapt to changing threats and find new ways to fight." "You need humans," Ward said, his voice flat. "Yes. Your species has fought wars throughout your entire history. While we see this as primitive, it has given you skills and instincts our peoples lack. Ward looked around the chamber. So you attacked us to see if we'd be good attack dogs for you? Several counselors shifted uncomfortably. Zelia's light dimmed slightly. We needed to know if you could help us survive, she said. The footage you saw is from 6 months ago. The Harbingers have taken 12 more systems since then. A new alien stood up. It had a face like a praying mantis but stood on 2 legs. Captain Ward, my homeworld fell 2 cycles ago. 3 billion of my people are gone. We cannot fight as you can. We never learned how. Ward felt his anger mixing with something else, understanding. He looked at the alien faces around him. Most species had evolved past war, which was good, but it left them helpless against an enemy that hadn't. What exactly are you asking of Earth? He asked finally. Join the council, Celia said. We will share technology, knowledge, resources. In return, human forces will help lead the defense against the Harbingers. And if we refuse? That is your right, Zelia said. But the Harbingers will reach your system within 5 of your years. Alone, you cannot stop them. Ward looked at the images still floating in the air. Burning worlds, destroyed fleets. I need to take this to my leaders, he said. This isn't a decision I can make. Of course, Zelia agreed. You have 48 hours before your shuttle returns. We can answer any questions you have. After the meeting, Ward was shown to private quarters. He sat on the edge of the bed, thinking about everything he'd learned. Earth was being offered advanced technology and a place among the stars, but the price was war. What he didn't know was that the counselors were having their own private meeting. Are we certain about this? Asked a counselor with skin like tree bark. Humans don't just fight wars, they transform themselves for combat. Their history suggests they might become as dangerous as the threat we face. Zelia's light pulsed. We have no choice. We need their aggression, their willingness to do what we cannot. What if we create a new monster while trying to defeat the current one? Asked another. Zelia looked toward the humans' quarters. Then we pray that humanity's compassion matches its capacity for violence. 6 months had passed since Captain Ward's meeting with the Galactic Council. Earth's leaders had debated, argued, and finally agreed to join the fight. Now, 50 ships carrying Earth's best soldiers left orbit, heading to the front lines of a war most humans had never imagined possible. Admiral Gloria Bennett stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching her home planet grow smaller on the main screen. She was 52 years old and had served in 3 wars on Earth. None of that had prepared her for commanding humanity's first space combat fleet. Admiral, all ships report ready for jump, said her first officer, Commander Frank Lewis. Bennett nodded. Send the signal, take us out. The stars blurred as the alien engines engaged. The Council had provided the technology. Faster ships, advanced weapons, protective gear that could stop energy attacks. But the fighting would be done by humans. The tactics would come from human minds. Elsewhere on the ship, Lieutenant Sean Murphy led his squad through combat practice. 20 men and women moved through the training room, learning to use the new weapons against simulated Harbinger troops. The alien guns felt strange in their hands but fired with deadly accuracy. Watching from the corner stood Kelvar, a council liaison with pale blue skin and large, concerned eyes. Murphy noticed the alien flinch each time the weapons fired. Break. Time, Murphy called to his team. He walked over to Kelvar while the others rested. Something wrong? Murphy asked. Kelvar's skin seemed to ripple with discomfort. Your people train with enthusiasm, Murphy smiled slightly. That's one way to put it. You enjoy this, Kelvar said. It wasn't a question. Not enjoy, Murphy corrected. We take pride in doing it well. There's a difference. My species has not fought a war in 10,000 years, Kelvar said. We can barely watch combat without feeling ill. Murphy studied the alien. You're frightened of us. Kelvar's translucent skin flushed darker. Your species treats violence as art. You have philosophers of warfare. You write poetry about battles. That's because we understand its cost, Murphy replied. We value peace because we know war intimately. Across the ship, in a secure meeting room, Admiral Bennett reviewed classified footage of Harbinger attacks with her command staff. The enemy moved with a hive-mind precision. They never retreated, never surrendered. "Look here," said Captain Olivia Jones, pointing at the screen. "They always use the same attack pattern, 3 waves, no variation." "They've never needed to adapt," Bennett realized. "No one's ever pushed them back effectively." "That's our advantage," said Major Alan Grant. "They don't know how to respond to unexpected tactics." Bennett nodded slowly. "The Council races have been fighting defensively, always retreating in good order, always trying to minimize losses. That's not winning strategy against a force like this," Jones said. "No," Bennett agreed. "Sometimes you have to accept losses to achieve victory." That night in her quarters, Bennett recorded a personal log. She spoke quietly to the computer. "The Council chose us because they needed monsters. They've watched our wars, our films, our games. They see only the violence. They don't understand that humanity's strength isn't our ability to fight. It's our ability to hope while fighting, to find meaning in sacrifice, to laugh in the face of death." She paused. "They may come to regret their choice, not because we'll turn on them, but because once humanity is unleashed against an enemy, we become something even we don't fully understand." 3 weeks later, the fleet arrived at the forward base. It was a massive space station near the edge of Council territory. Ships from other species moved around it, but none were armed like the human vessels. Bennett led her command staff to meet the Council military leadership. She was surprised to find there wasn't one. "We coordinate defense efforts," explained a tall plant-like being named Vril. "Each species contributes what they can." "Who makes strategic decisions?" Bennett asked. "We reach consensus," Vril said. "In the middle of battle?" Major Grant couldn't hide his disbelief. "This is why we need you," said another alien, a small round being with multiple eyes. "We can build weapons, but using them effectively." It trailed off. Bennett exchanged looks with her officers. "Show us everything you have on Harbinger movements and tactics. We'll develop a battle plan." Over the next days, humans studied the enemy. They found patterns the Council species had missed, weaknesses, opportunities. The alien records showed sophisticated technology, but simple strategies. They fought like people who had never expected to lose. Lieutenant Murphy's squad was assigned to the station's defense force. They trained alongside aliens who watched the humans with mixtures of hope and fear. "They don't understand us," Private Diane Lee told Murphy after one session. "They see us handling weapons and think that's all we are." Murphy nodded. "They haven't figured out yet that humans are more than fighters. We're survivors. We adapt." "Do you think we can win this?" Lee asked quietly. "I think we can show them how to fight back," Murphy said. "That's a start." On the eve of their first planned engagement, Admiral Bennett addressed the combined fleet. Her words were translated for the alien crews. "Tomorrow we stop retreating. Tomorrow we take the fight to the enemy. The Harbingers have never faced an opponent who wasn't afraid of them. They're about to meet humanity." In her quarters afterward, she looked at a photo of her family back on Earth. Her wife and 2 daughters smiled back at her. This was why humans fought so hard, she thought. Not because they loved war, but because they loved what they were protecting. Across the station, others prepared in their own ways. Murphy wrote letters to his parents. Captain Jones checked her weapons again and again. Major Grant studied the attack plans one more time. None of them knew that the Council observers were recording everything, documenting human behavior with growing fascination and concern. "They do not merely prepare for battle," one report noted. "They transform themselves. They find resolve in their fear, strength in their connections to each other. Most concerning of all, they appear to find meaning in the face of possible death." The first battle against the Harbingers would begin at dawn, station time. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what it meant to fight back. The mining colony on Cygnus 4 was quiet. Too quiet. Commander Paul Winters led his team through empty streets, weapons ready. Buildings showed signs of battle, broken walls, scorch marks, abandoned vehicles. But no bodies. The Harbingers, Don't leave bodies, Kelvar had explained during the mission briefing. They take everything living. Winters signaled his team to move forward. 20 human soldiers and 10 alien allies spread out, checking buildings as they advanced. The aliens moved nervously while the humans maintained calm efficiency. "Contact," came a voice through the comm. 3 blocks north. Winters saw them then. Dark shapes moving with unnatural smoothness. They looked almost human but wrong somehow. Their skin was gray-black, their eyes glowing red. They moved as one, turning at the same moment to face the human forces. "Remember the plan," Winters said quietly. "Don't let them surround you. Don't let them touch you." The battle erupted quickly. The Harbingers charged forward in perfect formation. But instead of meeting them head-on, the human forces split apart, creating confusion. Winters' team fired from multiple positions, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. This was what humans did best, Winters thought, as he ducked behind a wall, fired 3 shots, then moved again. They created chaos within order. The Harbingers had never faced an enemy who fought this way before. Above the colony in space, Admiral Bennett's fleet engaged the Harbinger ships. The Council observers watched in shock as human vessels broke formation, seemingly fighting without coordination. But there was a pattern to their movements, a deadly dance the Harbingers couldn't predict. "What are they doing?" asked Counselor Vril, watching from the command center. "Their ships are flying into danger deliberately." "It's called a feint," explained Captain Olivia Jones, who remained behind to coordinate. "They appear vulnerable to draw the enemy in." On the main view screen, a human ship took heavy damage, its shields flaring. 3 Harbinger vessels moved, closer to finish it off. Suddenly, 2 more human ships appeared from behind a moon, catching the enemy in crossfire. "They sacrificed 1 ship to trap 3, Vril said, eyes wide. "Not sacrificed," Jones corrected. "The first ship knew the risk. They volunteered." On the ground, Winters' team pushed deeper into the colony. They found the processing center where the Harbingers had set up their base. Inside were hundreds of large tubes, each containing a captured colonist. They weren't dead, but they weren't fully alive either. Tubes connected to their bodies, pumping something into them. "We need medical here now," Winters ordered. Dr. Lisa Crawford arrived with her team. She was the fleet's lead medical officer, specially trained for alien biology. She approached one of the tubes, scanning it with Council technology. "They're being transformed," she said, her voice tight with controlled anger. "The Harbingers aren't killing them, they're changing them." Crawford worked quickly, examining the captured colonists while the soldiers secured the area. She took samples, ran tests, and studied the Harbinger technology. Hours later, when the battle was over, she made a discovery that changed everything. "These aren't natural changes," she told Admiral Bennett during the emergency meeting. The Harbingers themselves were once normal beings. "Look at these scans." The images showed similar neural structures in both the colonists and the captured Harbinger soldiers. "They're victims," Crawford explained. "There's a parasitic organism controlling them. It rewrites their neural pathways, connects them to the hive mind." Bennett looked at the Council representatives. "Did you know this?" "We suspected," admitted Zilia, her light form dimming slightly. "But we had no proof." "This changes our approach," Bennett said firmly. "If they're victims, maybe they can be saved." After the meeting, Captain Maria Diaz noticed several Council members speaking quietly in a corner. Curious, she adjusted her translator device to pick up their conversation. "Phase 2 must be accelerated," one was saying. "The humans exceed all combat projections." "But are they ready for the truth?" asked another. "About what comes after the Harbingers?" Diaz moved closer, pretending to study a star chart. "They must be," said the first voice. "The eclipse draws nearer. The humans are our only hope against it." Diaz had never heard of the eclipse before. It wasn't in any briefing. She decided to confront Counselor Zelia directly. She found the light being in the observation deck looking out at the stars. "What is Phase 2? Diaz asked without preamble. "And what is the eclipse?" Zelia's form flickered with surprise. Captain Diaz, I didn't hear you approach. You've been keeping information from us, Diaz pressed. My people are dying for your cause. We deserve the truth. Zelia was silent for a long moment. Finally, she gestured to the stars. The harbingers are merely the first wave. Behind them comes something worse, something that has conquered thousands of galaxies over millions of years. We call it the eclipse because it darkens everything it touches. Why didn't you tell us this from the beginning? Diaz demanded. Would you have believed the full truth? Would Earth have joined a fight against an enemy so vast? Zelia's form pulsed with emotion. We didn't just recruit you as soldiers, Captain. We recruited you as weapons. Weapons? Diaz repeated, confused. There is something in humanity that other species lack. Not just your combat skills, but your capacity for evolution under pressure. Your species changes itself to meet challenges. The Council believes that quality may be the key to defeating the eclipse. Diaz felt cold despite the temperature-controlled room. You're planning to change us somehow, to turn us into something else. Not us, Zelia corrected. The conflict itself will transform you. It already has. Your tactics, your technology integration, you've advanced more in 6 months than most species do in decades. Diaz stepped back. I need to tell Admiral Bennett about this. Please do, Zelia said. Phase 2 requires your full cooperation. But Captain, your people should know that the eclipse cannot be defeated by conventional means. It will require humanity to become something more. As Diaz left to report to Bennett, she wondered what humanity was really fighting for, and what they might become in the process. Back on the battlefield, the cleanup operation continued. Winters watched as Dr. Crawford's team carefully extracted colonists from the Harbinger tubes. Some might recover, others were too far gone. A Council medical officer approached him. Commander, we've been observing your troops. They show unusual stress responses. How so? Winters asked. They laugh after danger passes. They form stronger bonds during combat. They become more effective under pressure, not less. The alien seemed puzzled. Is this normal for humans? Winters smiled grimly. That's how we survive. We don't break under pressure. We adapt to it. As night fell on the colony, humanity had won its first victory against the Harbingers. But a larger question was emerging. In fighting monsters, what might humans themselves become? The news about the eclipse spread quickly through Earth's forces. Admiral Bennett called an emergency meeting with all human commanders present at the front. The large meeting room buzzed with angry voices. They lied to us from the start, said Commander Winters, his face dark with anger. They knew this wasn't just about the Harbingers. We should pull out, another officer suggested. Return to Earth and prepare our defenses. Admiral Bennett stood at the front of the room, waiting until the voices quieted. I've spoken directly with Earth's leaders. President Kate Simmons addressed the United Nations this morning. She pressed a button, and the president's face appeared on the main screen. Kate Simmons was a tall woman with silver-streaked dark hair and a serious expression. People of Earth, she began. We were deceived about the true nature and scale of this conflict. The Galactic Council kept vital information from us about an enemy called the Eclipse. While this breach of trust is serious, our commitment to Earth's safety remains our top priority. The President continued, her voice firm. We will continue fighting the Harbingers, as this threat is real and immediate. However, we demand complete intelligence from the Council immediately. We will not be pawns in someone else's war. The recording ended. Admiral Bennett looked around the room. That's our position. We keep fighting, but on our terms. Over the next few weeks, human forces began operating with greater independence. Bennett established direct communication with other species' military units, bypassing the Council's political hierarchy. She discovered many alien commanders shared human frustrations about strategic restrictions. We've wanted to try more aggressive tactics, admitted General Krex, a reptilian commander from the Sarin system, but our leaders always forbid it. Then work with us, Bennett suggested. Share information directly. We can coordinate our efforts. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Sean Murphy, now promoted to captain, led a special mission into enemy territory. His team had been training for this operation for weeks. Their goal: infiltrate a Harbinger command vessel and gather intelligence on their connection to the Eclipse. The small stealth ship approached the massive black vessel that controlled dozens of Harbinger ships. Murphy's team wore special suits that masked their life signs. "Remember," Murphy told his squad, "we need evidence about the connection between the Harbingers and the Eclipse. Dr. Crawford needs samples of the neural parasites controlling them." The team moved through the enemy ship like shadows. They had studied Harbinger movements and patrol patterns. They knew when to hide and when to move. 4 humans and 2 Council allies with technical skills made up the team. In the central command chamber, they found what they were looking for. Large containers held thousands of small worm-like creatures floating in green liquid. "The parasites," said Lena Fisher, the team's science specialist. She carefully collected samples. They also downloaded data from the ship's systems. As they worked, Murphy found something disturbing: visual records showing massive dark ships at the edge of the galaxy. The ships were unlike any Harbinger vessel. They seemed to absorb light around them. "The Eclipse," he whispered. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Time to go," Murphy ordered. The escape was chaotic. 2 team members were injured, but everyone made it, back to their ship. As they sped away from the Harbinger vessel, Murphy looked at the data they had stolen. The truth was worse than they had imagined. Back at the fleet, Dr. Crawford worked day and night analyzing the parasites. She brought in alien scientists to help. Her approach surprised them. "You're trying to find a cure," said Zav, a council medical officer, "not a way to destroy them." Crawford nodded without looking up from her work. "They're victims of infection. If we can break the parasites' control, we might save them instead of killing them." "Such compassion for an enemy," Zav said, sounding confused. "Is this typical of humans?" "Not always," Crawford admitted. "But the best of us try to save lives when we can, even enemies." Her human perspective, viewing the Harbingers as patients to be cured rather than enemies to be destroyed, opened new possibilities that the Council had never considered. Admiral Bennett called a meeting with Counselor Zelia. They met in Bennett's office on the flagship. Captain Diaz and Dr. Crawford joined them. "We've learned about the Eclipse," Bennett said without preamble. "We know what you're really hoping for from humanity." Zelia's light form dimmed slightly. "Then you understand the gravity of our situation." "What we understand," Bennett said firmly, "is that you see us as weapons to be pointed at your enemy. But that's not how this works anymore." She stood and walked around her desk. "We won't be your monsters or your weapons. We'll be your teachers. Our history is filled with atrocities, but also with redemption. We've learned that victory without compassion creates only new enemies." Bennett showed Zelia Dr. Crawford's research. "We're developing ways to free the Harbingers from control, to cure them rather than exterminate them. This is not what we expected," Celia admitted. "Humans are full of surprises," Diaz said with a small smile. Bennett laid out humanity's new terms. "We want full disclosure about the Eclipse. Complete intelligence, no more secrets. In return, we'll continue fighting, but we'll do it our way." Zelia hesitated, then agreed. "The Council may resist, but you've proven your worth. I will support your demands." Later that day, Captain Elijah Ward, now a strategic advisor to the fleet, met with Murphy to review the mission data. Ward had been the first human to meet the Council, and now he was helping shape humanity's response to the greater threat. "The Eclipse isn't just a fleet," Ward said, studying the images Murphy had recovered. "It's almost like a living darkness, consuming everything it touches." Murphy nodded. "How do we fight something like that?" Ward was quiet for a moment. Then, he said, "What if we don't fight the Harbingers but free them? What if our monster quality isn't our capacity for violence, but our capacity for mercy when none is expected?" "You think we can turn the Harbingers against the Eclipse?" Murphy asked. "I think we can show the galaxy that humanity's strength Isn't just fighting skill, Ward said. It's our ability to find solutions beyond just killing. As word of the new strategy spread through the human forces, something changed. They were no longer just following council orders. They were reshaping the war itself, bringing human values to an alien conflict. On Earth, factories worked around the clock, combining human ingenuity with alien technology. Scientists studied the parasite samples, looking for weaknesses. Military leaders developed new strategies based on Murphy's intelligence. The council watched with a mixture of hope and concern as humanity took greater control of the war effort. They had wanted monsters to fight their battle. Instead, they got humans. Complicated, unpredictable, and unwilling to be used as mere weapons in someone else's war. 1 year had passed since the first battle against the Harbingers. The war had changed in ways no one expected. Dr. Crawford's team had developed a treatment that could free infected beings from the parasite's control. What had begun as a war of extermination had become a rescue mission. Admiral Bennett stood before the Joint Human Council War Council. The large chamber was filled with representatives from all 27 council species, plus Earth's military leaders joining by hologram. From home. 1 year ago, we were strangers, Bennett began. You chose us because you thought we were monsters who could match the enemy's brutality. But humanity's true strength isn't our capacity for violence. It's our capacity to transcend it. Jikio gestured to the large screen behind her. It showed footage of former Harbinger soldiers now working alongside council forces. Their gray skin had regained color, their red eyes now normal again. Our history taught us that the greatest victory isn't destroying your enemy, but turning them into allies, Bennett continued. That's what we've done. The liberation strategy had worked better than anyone hoped. Dr. Crawford's team had developed a counterparasite that could be delivered through gas, darts, or area effect devices. Once freed, many former Harbingers joined the fight against their former masters. The recovered Harbingers have given us crucial intelligence, Bennett explained. The Eclipse maintains control through 7 central hubs at the edge of the galaxy. They're already moving toward our territory. A new star map appeared showing the Eclipse's advance. The massive shadow had consumed 3 more star systems in recent months. We've proven we can free individuals, Bennett said. Now it's time to strike at the source. The council chamber buzzed with voices. Many council species still feared direct confrontation with the Eclipse. Human representatives argued for immediate action. President Simmons spoke up from Earth. We didn't join this war to hide behind defenses. We joined to end the threat. Finally, a plan was approved. A joint fleet would target the nearest Eclipse hub. Human ships would lead the assault, with Council and liberated Harbinger vessels providing support. Sean Murphy, now Colonel Murphy, was given command of a Special Forces unit. His team included soldiers from 6 different species, including formerly infected Harbingers. They would board the hub and plant devices to disrupt the Eclipse's control signal. On the evening before the mission, Murphy visited the memorial wall on the main station. Photos and names of those lost in the war covered one entire section. He found the pictures of 2 members of his original squad who had died in earlier battles. A tall, insect-like alien approached him. It was Trill, the council liaison who had first guided Captain Ward to the council meeting more than a year before. Your people honor your dead differently than we do, Trill observed. Murphy nodded. We remember their faces, their names. It keeps them with us. The council records show your species has an unusual relationship with death, Trill said. You fear it, yet you risk it constantly. That's what makes life precious, Murphy replied. Knowing it can end makes each moment matter more. The next morning, the attack fleet departed. Admiral Bennett watched from the command ship as hundreds of vessels moved into formation. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels in perfect coordination, a sight no one would have imagined possible a year earlier. The journey to the Eclipse hub took 3 days. When they arrived, they found a massive structure suspended in space. It was shaped like a black star with 8 points, each one sending out pulses of dark energy. All ships battle positions, Bennett ordered. Colonel Murphy, you have clearance to launch. Murphy's team boarded their special transport ship. As they approached the Eclipse hub, Massive energy weapons fired from the structure. 2 council ships exploded in bright flashes. 3 human vessels moved forward, drawing fire to create a path for Murphy's transport. "They're sacrificing themselves for us," said Kelvar, who had joined Murphy's team as a technical expert. "No," Murphy corrected. "They're making sure we complete the mission. There's a difference." The transport ship docked with the hub. Murphy's team moved inside, fighting through strange, shadow-like beings that seemed halfway between solid and gas. The former harbingers on the team proved invaluable, knowing the layout of Eclipse structures. They reached the central chamber and planted their devices, specialized versions of Dr. Crawford's counter-parasite technology. As they worked, Murphy noticed something odd about the chamber walls. They pulsed almost like a heartbeat. This isn't just a structure, he realized. It's alive somehow. Outside, the battle raged. Human ships fought with all the tactical brilliance they had developed. Council vessels, now trained in human methods, executed complex maneuvers that confused the Eclipse defenses. Bennett received a distress call from a civilian evacuation fleet nearby. The Eclipse had sent ships to attack the refugees. Without hesitation, she ordered part of her fleet to break off and protect the civilians. "Admiral, we need those ships for our attack," protested a council commander. "We don't win by abandoning those we're supposed to protect," Bennett replied firmly. The human ships formed a protective line around the civilian vessels, absorbing heavy damage. When council commanders questioned this tactical inefficiency, Bennett responded, "This isn't a tactical choice. This is who we are." Inside the hub, Murphy's team completed their work. The devices activated, sending waves of counter-parasites through the structure. The shadow beings collapsed. The walls stopped pulsing. "It's working," Kelvar said, watching readings on his device. "The control signal is failing." They rushed back to their ship as the hub began to destabilize. As they flew away, Murphy watched through the viewport as cracks of light appeared in the black structure. Then it exploded in a silent flash. Throughout the sector, Eclipse ships suddenly stopped attacking. Some drifted aimlessly in space. Others began fighting each other. The hive mind that controlled them had been disrupted. The victory was not without cost. 17 human ships had been destroyed. Council losses were heavy too, but they had proven the Eclipse could be defeated. Back at the station, human and alien medical teams worked side by side treating the wounded. Dr. Crawford moved between beds, checking on patients from a dozen different species. In the command center, Bennett met with council leaders to plan their next move. 6 more hubs remained, but they now had a strategy that worked. Captain Ward, watching Earth forces training alongside former enemies, wrote in his journal, "They wanted monsters, but got humans instead. And perhaps that's what the universe truly needed. Not our capacity for war, but our stubborn insistence that even in darkness we can create light." Council historians updated their records. Species, humans. Initial classification, potential weapons. Revised classification, teachers. When facing extinction, we sought monsters to match our nightmares. Instead, we found humans who taught us to face them. As humanity prepared for the greater war ahead, they did so not as the monsters the universe thought it needed, but as what they had always been: complicated, compassionate beings who fought hardest not for glory or power, but for the chance to build something better from the ruins of war.